Oppression in Tigray through the prism of the May 2005 election results. On the historic day of the 15th of May 2005, Ethiopians took to the polls in record numbers and expressed their rejection of the authoritarian and ethno-fascist rule of Meles Zenawi. As widely documented, Zenawi's response to his stunning defeat was a declaration of a state of emergency and the perpetration of one of the most heinous crimes against humanity in the 21st century. While the focus of the debate about the ill-fated elections has thus far been on the vote rigging and the massacre of innocent civilians, there is still much to be learned from the election results in those places that were inaccessible to opposition groups. For known reasons, little or no credible official information has been available to understand the degree of loss that the brutal dictator suffered at the polls. However, reliable information compiled from direct and indirect sources suggests troubling patterns in some parts of Ethiopia that seemingly have long been considered the power base of Zenawi and his repressive machinery. The data displayed in the appendix, compiled over a period of time by concerned Ethiopians using, as sources, all available published and unpublished data, show in detail the individuals and their party affiliations that won in each of the 545 constituencies in the elections of May 2005. The bulk of the data is consistent with similar reports released by the EU Election Observation Mission, the Carter Center, and other organizations concerned with the elections. However, recognizing that some of the sources of the data may be controversial, for the purpose of this paper, only data that are also supported by the report of the National Election Board of Ethiopia is discussed below. The main purpose of this paper is not to belabor the point that EPRDF-2EPLF won only 160 seats, compared to Kunajit's 228, UDEF's 88 and the 63 seats for the other groups and individuals. The primary interest here is to consider the data from those regions, where it is known for certain that one group or another had a clean sweep, as acknowledged by all parties, including Zenawi's electoral board, and to analyze the hidden story behind the numbers. According to the data displayed in the appendix, and also supported by the MEBE, there were few regions that were cleanly swept by one party or another. Two of these exceptions were the Addis Ababa region, where the EPRDF won 0 seats, and the Tigray region, where Zenawi's party won 100% of the seats. The question that needs to be addressed then is, what do these numbers tell with respect to the state of individual freedom in the region where the ruling party, with all its oppression machinery, won 100% of the seats? Much has been written and documented about the human rights abuse suffered by the Enhuas, the Oromas, the Somalis, the Anuks and the various other ethnic groups at the hands of Zenawi. However, thanks to the ethnic politics that the tyrant deliberately instilled in the political discourse, the level of oppression suffered by the people of Tigray has not been given due attention. It is an undeniable but sad fact that in Ethiopia today nearly all major government and military positions and almost all lucrative business enterprises are held by hand-picked individuals of Tigray origin. It is common knowledge that from the gates of Bole Airport to the desks of embassies and consulates around the world, Tigrayans hold more than their fair shares of key offices and portfolios. Unfortunately, this state of affair has created enormous anxiety and animosity among the various ethnic groups that have existed in harmony for centuries. Only untamed ignorance and arrogance, tainted by inexperience, she agreed, and power mania, may explain how and why such a destructive policy would be instituted in a country of a continent that has witnessed some of the cruelest and bloodiest inter-ethnic clashes. Zenawi's cheap policy of divide and rule should not, however, mask the sorry reality that the vast majority of the people of Tigray are under tremendous oppression that makes pale in comparison the situation in the former Soviet Union under Stalin or Nazi Germany under Hitler. When the party in power controls all instruments of oppression and repression, and claims 100% of the votes in a given area, it is highly unlikely that the people in that area have the freedom to exercise their basic rights. By contrast, Kunajit's clean sweep in Addis Ababa is more of an expression of the rejection of the EPRDF's repressive rule than the results of a hard-won or coerced victory by the hastily formed coalition of opposition groups. And like Kunajit and other groups, which were completely barred from campaigning in Tigray, the EPRDF had all the means and power to compete in Addis or any other parts of the country. Indeed, no opposition group, other than the EPRDF, had the power to win votes by coercion. So, any suggestion that parallels the situation in the Addis and Tigray regions is whimsical and unfounded. Interestingly enough, an internal document, which was recently made available, gives a glimpse of the brutal nature of the oppression that Zimbabwe's police state has imposed on the people of Tigray. The report portrays a chilling system that has gripped the populace through a network of informants and codders, reminiscent of the dog days of the former communist countries. Although the immediate target of the current campaign is a fledgling party formed by dissidents who were once members of the TPLF, it is a continuation of the harassment, intimidation and coercion that Mills and his followers have effectively and ruthlessly employed for decades to alienate and subjugate the people of Tigray. In summary, the results of the May 2005 elections suggest the ongoing desperate struggles to free the people of Ethiopia from the clutches of Zimbabwe can only be successful if there is a full realization of the oppressions experienced by all ethnic groups, and if all ethnic groups are brought under one umbrella. Since the repression of Zimbabwe is ethnic blind, the mushrooming liberation fronts can only serve to weaken the movement and lengthen the longevity of the despot. The liberation fronts of the 1970s and 1980s brought us dictators in the likes of Zimbabwe. This time, the struggle should be to overthrow the common enemy, Zimbabwe's ethno-fascism, and to establish a free and just Ethiopia where individual freedom is respected, and no one group or individual can subjugate any other.